Okay, so good afternoon, morning, nearly evening here, and so we're on day three of the 4-day AI challenge, and I'll share my screen with you. And as we came in, we were just saying a little bit about where we were from, and and now we're all ready to start customizing. So my wish for everybody is that you've actually got your GPT set up, your assistant set up, ready for us to kind of share tomorrow. That's the exciting piece. So as I was looking through the notes, I thought, yes, we can do this, right? We'll certainly get this ready. So just I'll go ahead and share this, make sure that I'll move this out the way 1 second. Okay. Yeah, so as we said, so we're looking at, so it's a 4-day AI challenge. And in fact, I brought it down from 5 to 4 days. I thought, given that we can do this in a few days, yeah, why not? Why don't we just do this in a few days as opposed to spend longer? So the idea is to have your system ready. And of course, tomorrow we'll be testing this. But today, what we'll be doing is customizing our AI assistant, and we'll be looking at the text, the blur that we need to add when we start creating that. So that's the piece that we'll be working on today, and getting that ready and saying, okay, this is kind of what I need to put in there. So there's 3 components to this we'll talk about when I share the GPT part, which is giving it a name, giving it the description and the instructions. The big piece is the instructions. And there's quite a lot of text we can already put in the instructions. But yesterday we spoke about adding our knowledge, our text, which then we can add files. And we'll talk a little bit about what that might look like as well. So a piece that we didn't dive into too much, but I was alluding towards this, is aligning the AI with your mission, your values, and the performance, what it is that you want it to do, because that's going to be key, right? Because then it's customizable. The purpose is it's for the model to understand who we are, because we want to avoid that kind of very generic way of doing things. We touched on this before. I've kept this feature in here because it's fairly new. There are a couple of other features which I'll mention, but this kind of came about a couple of weeks ago, and so we talked about when we might want to have this on, when we might want to turn it off. And it might be that you refresh. So, when you don't want it to kind of have some of the prior conversations, you may just kind of, turn it off, right? So you may do that way. So one of my mentors, he works with he works with clients who serve very, like the people they serve. It's very varied. And he finds that if he doesn't turn it off, then it may interfere with kind of creating content. So, if we've got like different avatars or different people that we're serving, then we may do that. But if it's, you're very clear on the person you're serving and you're creating content, then you may want to keep it on. But it's good to kind of just clear that. I know that Kathy, you did that the other day. You ended up going and clearing that text. And so one thing that I mentioned yesterday is something called markdown text. And I wanted to just say a little bit about that, because often we hear these things like, okay, she mentioned that, but what does she mean by that? And so markdown text or the format is that the GPT or our model understands these headings. So it breaks up these headings with these hashtag headings to organize content, or you'll see a lot of these kind of asterisks, and you'll see bold letters and italics. So when there are times when you've copied, say, text, and then you've inserted it in a document, you may have some of this kind of format appearing. You may already have seen that. Often we want to, obviously, when we're using it, we want to tidy that up. But this, it's okay. We're going to see it. We're going to see in the model where we start, when we're cutting and pasting. But actually, we may even ask GPT to do that for us because it understands this type of way of formatting. So actually, it's good to kind of use that when you're putting that knowledge, or you're creating, say, you'll be tidying up a document. I'll say a little bit more about that. If you don't, it still understands, but sometimes we see this format can be a little bit confusing, or like, okay, what's it doing here? You want to get rid of that because it's obviously clear that it's been taken from GPT. So you want to get rid of these if it does kind of paste in your document. So what we're going to be doing today is refining our assistant. So we want to make sure that we have what it is, what the information on there, and see whether it's performing. And the way we're going to do that is you can share your GPT. So when I look at it tomorrow, and I'll share the one I've been working on. And there's a couple of things we need to be doing is when we share a GPTs to make sure that we are putting in the sidebar. And that was one of the questions that came up. I think, Colleen, you said, oh, it wasn't opening for you because it may be when we've opened it, we haven't put it in the sidebar. I'll show you what I mean by that. And so we want our assistant to align with our voice, or, and I put voice in there earlier, but then I thought, well, actually, we're going to be doing a test run. And rather than because I know that when I'm putting stuff together, I've had this thing of wanting it to be really, really good. I'm like, well, there's no thing as like perfection, right? So I just want us to kind of test an assistant, and then you can also then build on this later on. So feedback, make adjustments, and then what can we do to get better results? How can we get it to perform the way we want it to, perform? So some kind of things that we may be working on, that the area that we were thinking about yesterday with blogs and things like article writing. There's going to be content and ads that came up this week. And when we upload to GPT as context, or we want to give a knowledge source, and we want to ensure that it understands where this information is coming from. Sometimes we can upload it in a text format in our GPT conversation thread. Other times, if we see the knowledge as something permanent, I put it in that way because we then are creating assistance, because we want to be able to draw on that information more frequently. If it's something that, say, you're using sort of like it's like, a framework, but you don't always use it, then you may just have it as a file you can upload. But if you've got, but the idea of creating a system is something that we can pick up and then we can, use more frequently. So things like could be for most of us here with coaching, or say with, our own businesses, we may have content that we always refer to. And so one of them is the avatar, or the, brand voice, that type of thing. And if we're serving many clients, then we may have different ones for different clients. So we can ask the AI or any tool, if it's GPT or even Claude AI, to clean up or summarize. And it's, just pick out the bits that you want. So there's a danger if we add in information that it doesn't know which bit of information to pick. So if we want to keep focused, then we want to kind of, clean it up, and maybe we've got too many frameworks in one document. We may just want to kind of take a few of those and tidy that document up. Something just to be mindful of, because it might, if there's too much there, you may not know which bit to pick up. So AI, authentic data, you can have one of the things, if you've got messy transcripts, say if you have got transcripts from your coaching or transcripts from closing, like working with, if like one of the discussions I had with the group yesterday was when we've had a close, we may have transcripts of those, and seeing how did I close one call and not another, what was going on. So it might be, it's amazing what we can do with it, because we might want to look at the transcript as it is and upload it, so it becomes like we can use it to learn it in a way. I've done that with some of my recordings. I've actually, when I was going through the training with the ICF, I was actually looking at some of my recordings and seeing, what am I doing? What am I missing? Which bits can I improve on? And I helped it to kind of like think about adding some of those descriptors, like did I fulfill the task here? Like it's quite interesting what I got back, and it was really helpful. So rather waiting for someone else to tell me, I was getting the AI to teach me. So yeah, so if you think about like going through files and and tell me what are the goals, like so if we're thinking of the fears, frustrations, dreams, aspirations of the people that you're serving, maybe you can go through some of the files that you're tidying up. So it's about like having those files and seeing what each of those, how they're going to be working. So we're going to be looking at one task for this challenge. And look, and you can even ask the AI, when I say AI, chat GPT, and say to it, what do you need to do a good job? What's the thing that you need to do a better job here? And you can have that dialogue and say, act as one of the prompts that have really worked, I found helpful, is if I say act as the top copywriter and help me improve this. And that it does kind of quite a good job, because he now has to perform like, and then you can go back and say, actually, could you do better than that? So sometimes it's those conversations. And if that's when you're prompting it, obviously, but if you're thinking of having those files, so if it's blog writing and you've got those files, then you would put it into your GPT and save that. And I'm going to stop there for a moment, and I'm going to show you how that looks on the actual page. Like if you're going in and logging into your chat GPT, and what you could be then doing in terms of those three if you like, those three areas, like the name, you could give it a name, because yours is, Kathy, yours is going to be blog. You're going to give it a name, which is going to be a blog. So we can kind of say, okay, what you're going to call it. It could be one-liner, and then you could give it some instructions. Okay, so we'll go. Yes, Kathy, have you got a question?
I did that.
Yeah.
I
Oh, you
gave it
did.
a.
Yeah, you did that. Okay.
I don't know if I did it right or not, but I did. It's just a generic. Um, I think I named it authenticity advocate, or advocate of authenticity or something.
Okay. And so you're giving it a name, and
And an image. It generated an image.
okay, so you got the image, and then you've got the name, and then you've given it some instructions. Not quite.
Some, but the one that Ivan was talking about,
Hmm.
the monologue dialect, I couldn't find that somehow. I mean, I started copying it, but I mean, writing it down the day when you gave it. But I was looking back through the emails. Did you send that to us in the email?
No,
In the email?
I didn't, but I could give it to you now. I can do that.
Okay. You
Yeah,
can just put it in the chat or something. I'll copy it and keep it. Thank you so much, Brittany.
yeah, absolutely. Because you're having to then type it up. But I think Ivan, I didn't send it to you, so that's good. I'll put it in the chat. Yeah. So I'll
Ivan somehow was swift enough to get it, though. I like that, Ivan.
it was good. It makes a difference, right? Because that's the bit where we go in and so let me go in and share that. I'll share it from the actual GPT itself. So I'll go in and through the. Oops, what's happened here? Let me see. Looks like
And
I've
I'm
got.
sorry to interrupt your flow, but I just
Oh,
wanted
no,
to.
no, it's good. I like it because it is good. I like the idea of doing this. Not you know it makes it more engaging for me, and it actually I personally prefer it. Like if you ask questions, it really helps me kind of
Okay.
go through some points, and then it's like, okay, what did I miss or what's needed? Because this is the bit where I like this is the bit I enjoy the most, actually. I mean, I love doing this, but it's like I love having those questions, because it's like, okay, what did I do? What do I need to do that can really support? So customizing, if you remember, this is what we did date, like it's good to kind of recap, isn't it? Like where we go through these sections. So you would have done that,
Mhm.
and you would have added this. This is the bit that Ivan was talking about, the monologue tags before responding, because it then what that does, it let me see if I can just simply copy it and then I can put it in there. What that does, it actually shows the reasoning it kind of talks to you, and in it then before it or it provides an output, but it tells you kind of like the thinking behind the output, if that makes sense. And so that's really helpful, I found, because it's like, so you can, you could amend that a little bit if you felt
Thank you so much.
works. I mean, I found that like it works, so I just keep it as in that way. There might be times you want to turn it off.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then, so we're going to go in, and then when we go in and create our GPT, for some reason it disappears from my screen. So I'm just going to see what's going on. So I'm just going to stop that for a moment. And okay, I've got it here. So I'll just go back to that main page of the GPT where I've okay. So I'm assuming you've all done that first bit now. Where we've kind of like done the customization part. Yeah. Has everybody done that? All right, so I'm gonna, oops. 1 second, I'm still here. I just lost where we were. Some reason it's okay, I am here still. It's gone into the open AI for some reason. So I'm just gonna come out of it. Okay, I'm back in there. I also had another page open that I was going to share, but I'll do that later on, which is the OpenAI page, which maybe we go into later on. So yeah, so this is kind of the environment that we're in. And so when we want to create, as we went through yesterday, where we go through just kind of a recap, really quick recap, where we go through my GPT, and then we click on that. And then you go into create. This is what, Kathy, I understand you've been doing, where you're creating and giving it a name. And you've got an image as well, which is great. So, that we can do all that in this space, right? And so when we go into, say, for example, let's do, I'm going to do this one for a moment. I'll tell you why I'm going to do this one, because I ended up doing frequently asked questions, and I had and you most likely you have something like that, perhaps it's in your website. And then I added kind of additional questions people were asking me, and then I just went through all those questions and then the responses. And I found that really helpful. Like, say if someone's got some questions and you wanted to share this GPT, you could actually go ahead and say, the information's here if you want to do that. So for example, if I want to edit the GPT, I would just go in here. And what I then gave it were these, I gave it a name as you would do for any, assistant. So I would say, frequently asked questions, coach BB, and these are, and then I just give it a simple description. And the bit that I found really helpful, and maybe I can, again, as most things, we can always improve. I'm always looking at, okay, how can I make this better? And all the instructions I put in here was, I just said it, you're insightfully helpful F&Q AI assistant who's a representative of Bally Binning's coaching. All the knowledge regarding the frequently asked questions, FAQs, that clients tend to have is contained in your knowledge base. Please provide any answers to the user, i.e. the person that uses this, from the local knowledge base exclusively. If you cannot find it there, ask the user to share Bally's email address for more info. That's all I did. And And so I can actually, the things that I could add to this, kind of more I'm doing this, is the things that I might ask, might want it not to do. In other words, I might say avoid making information up. I might say that, like, if you're not sure, always ask, and put the email address. So, and conversations, you could just do something like that. Just let's go, right? You could just do something like that. And then you could, you've got these, I've just added a file there. I could even put, when you're thinking of a website, I could put the website details if I wanted to in there. If, the information could be found there as well. And if I wanted, say, to add it as a file, what I found helpful is if I go to my own website, for example, and you may have done this already at some point, where you save it, like you're going to print a copy, but you don't print it, you save it as a PDF, and you can upload that document straight into your assistant without having to do anything if you've got that information. And at that point, all you would then do is save it, update it. So if I was to update it, it would just do this. Like if I'm adding something, you've got a little kind of, don't know if you can see that wheel turning. And then you could say anyone with the link. So I've only given access to people with the link, and I can make this publicly available. I haven't. I can make this publicly available if I wanted to. I mean, it's information about me. Now, I want to also, so if I was to view this, then it would come up in the chat here in this space. What I like about in the space is it's clean, and I can bring in other GPTs if I want. So if I've got these frequently asked questions, I can then, what I tend to do is come out of this main chat here and then go into this conversation. And this is how I might bring, it's not working for me for some reason. Let's have a look. Okay, normally with I should be able to get my, oh, I know what's going on. You know why? I've been playing around with this new version of the 0.1. Okay, let me, so this is something new, right? They've got this new preview. This is kind of the preview. That's why it's doing that. So I need to come back to 4. And so now it's appearing. So it's giving me all the kind of the assistance there. That's why, because this is something, yeah, so that was kind of just experimenting earlier. So I can then draw on that. And then as soon as I'm not in that chat, I can ask it a question. So I can say, who are you, right? So if I want to just ask that question, and it should just give me some information about me. So that's one way to test it. And then it gives you the file. You can even ask what files are in your knowledge base. You could test it in that way. And so these are just kind of some of the things that you might do. Now, if I wanted to come out of here and I wanted to now draw on, this is the magic I always find. And if I want to draw on, say, I really like the style of writing, or I want to kind of go into my brand voice, then I can specifically go, kind of draw some information on sort of like, what do you do and how can you help me, that type of thing. But I'm interacting with it. So that's kind of like what it's got in there. So it's kind of just giving me the stuff that's in there. So that's one way of testing it. So as you're setting your own up, there's something I want you to just be a bit careful of if you decide to, in terms of security. So I went to the settings, and if you wanted to just be a little bit careful on data control, and you may want to turn this off. So if you've got confidential information in your GPT, or you've got something that you don't want this kind of basically what this is doing, we're training this, kind of the GPT to kind of have this, not that it's going to share information necessarily about you, but if it's something confidential, you might want to turn this, and then that means that allow your content to be used to train other models when it's on. And so it says, we take steps to protect, but if you want to have that privacy, then, just turn that toggle, turn that off. I wanted to highlight that because that might be a question that comes up as you're doing this, because it's kind of something that you know, I'm also mindful that, you know, we want to kind of keep that secure. If there's any, you know, if you've got any client data, just be a bit mindful of that. And actually, if you've got any names, the one thing you could do is when you're creating your GPT and you've got any transcripts of names, you can actually say, do not use the names, just use X. For example, if you're using it just for yourself, so that you, so just to, you know, just be mindful of those kind of few pointers there. Okay, so what we want to be doing is, as we're doing this, I'll give you a few moments to have a think about what your system's going to be doing. And if there's any kind of questions as you're building this, that you're saying, I've got a bit of text here, or like, what file should I add this in? In the knowledge base, we can add those PDFs, but if you had something that was, you know, you just using temporarily, then you can just upload that into the chat, like you've got the attached file. You've got the way of attaching that file and say, refer to this attachment and get information from there. But the assistants are permanent. So the assistant you're working on is going to be what you're going to train it. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to have a think what you're going to be doing, or maybe ask me questions and we'll go through the next part before, just gives you some time to kind of think about what it is that you're working on. Ivan.
Sorry, you opened the door and you said questions are welcome. So here we go.
Yes, please. Yes.
So the first one, just so as I can wrap my head around this, customizing ChatGPT is just a voice. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then my GPTs, those are the different assistants. So if we were doing like the one you've just demonstrated, FAQs as an example,
yeah,
you would then create a knowledge. That's primarily where that knowledge base sits. Is that my understanding?
So the knowledge base is in the file. So
yeah. So is that in the GPT? You know, if you're looking at the menu thing, it's my GPTs. That's the assistant, and the assistant has access to those files. Is that my understanding?
the assistant, yes, that specific assistant has access to that file. And then when I've given it the information, I've said that look in your knowledge base is in that area. So that assistant
Okay.
will only be looking at that information in that exclusively, because I've been very clear that I want it to look in that file and, you know, check your knowledge base. And I can give more information, like, you know, I could actually upload a lot of that information in the instructions. And I can't remember how many words we put in there. I can double check, but we can actually upload some of that information, even in a markdown format, we can upload.
Okay.
But if we've got quite a few files, then you might want to do it as like, you know, 20 files. We can add quite a lot of files if we've got transcripts. And yeah, so the FAQs were the ones. So yeah.
Okay. So everything, just so I'm clear on this, everything that particular assistant's going to draw from is actually going to be out of that uploaded document, yeah, and the instructions that you've given it. And if it can't find anything there, then it's actually going to say, contact Bally and here's her email or whatever.
It will do it that way, but there are times when I've tested it where it does try to fill the gaps.
Okay.
So it will look in the latent space to do that. So when I've had to kind of go back and I'm, you know, if it's done that, but primarily it does pretty good job. So this is the difference between, say, you know, where you see these bots on the websites, those are kind of pre-trained. They're only trained to answer that information. With the FAQs, it will answer all those questions. If there's a question it doesn't know, it will say, I can't help, and it will show up in there. It will definitely do that. And there were I'm going to go back and check again. So it's worth testing, because it will, you know, the terms of coherence, it's clear, you know, in terms of bringing that. But that's a valid point. So there's a bit more flexibility. And and so that's what I like about it, that in the knowledge base. That's why I've said, just look in here, don't make up any information. And that you could actually be that kind of like route, like, don't go anywhere else. Only, stop and tell me that you're stuck and ask me,
Okay. No, it sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Let's see what everyone's going to be working on. So have you got questions? Shall I carry on until you're working on this? Because I will be setting a task where I'll be asking you to share what you're working on, so you can share it ahead of tomorrow, that we can go through it, and then we're like, okay, yes, this is what it's doing, and you could say, this is my assistant, and then and I can share, and I'll share one with you. I'll share the Biz AI assistant with you too, so that you can see kind of, you can even ask it questions if you like. Kathy, did you have a question? Are you working on yours?
I'm working on a newsletter right now.
Okay. So you're working on your newsletter. Are you going to have your assistant create newsletters?
Newsletters and blogs.
Newsletters and blogs. Okay. And let's give your assistant one task. Shall we give it one task for now?
Sure, hold on. Let me get back over here to this right page, girl, where I'm at. I've got all these screens open. I gotta find you real quick. Okay. So what I assigned it, let me see here. I probably need to be using my laptop in this, really, because I'm all turned around here, Ivan. Let's see here. Okay. This is what I said. I said draft a newsletter about self-care practices for mental health. Is that a good task or not, Bally? And is it Bally or Bailey?
Bally.
Bally. Okay. Yes. Is that a good task or not?
I'm just wondering, so is this what you're putting in the actual instructions then? Is this what you're instructing it to do when you're when you're building? Let's think of the building part.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can get it to do that afterwards. And I love what you're going to get it to do, because it will definitely do that. But I'm just wondering if we first get the instructions right. So
I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Let me go over here then and tell you what I got over there. And go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's good. It's good. So
in customizing it, let me see here. Let me get back over to my GPTs right here. Girl, I've got so much going on over here. Okay. Trying to open and work and see the instructions I have for it. Go ahead and be talking about something else, Bally, and I'll.
That's okay. So when you're looking for the instructions, what you would then do, you would get it in. So I always have to refresh. I've noticed if I go back on here. So I'm gonna. This is where it is. So yeah, I'll get it up again. And okay. So when for example, so if I go in here and I go into the shared component, and the way we want to see is how did I, what does my GPT contain? So if I go into my GPTs again, so yeah, because it's a little bit confusing, right? Because you've got, it calls it GPT, some call them agents, some call them projects, so some models, right? And then we've done the customization, but we're going to go in this bit here. And then as soon as you've got your, the example, you would then just click on that. For example, if we were to go in here, and then we would then go back, there's a little arrow.
Yeah.
We go back on there. And then once we go into the edit, it won't do anything until you instruct it to, basically.
Okay.
And then you
Let me get back over here.
review that. And you know,
Instruction.
so do you see in this example, for example, I've actually used a markdown format in here. So so in this particular, the brand voice assistant is I've gone in and said, you know, brand voice assistant, you know, I could have been a bit fancy, given it a better name. But anyway, so I've given it a description, say, you know, like what have I said here? By focusing on these simplified steps, you can create I don't know what I was doing there, a practical brand voice assistant. And then I've, let's see what else I've put. An effective creating brand communication. So you can see I've like lucidly put stuff in there, right? This approach ensures that the users, so users quickly learn how to align. So I'm kind of like, so I'm kind of, you know, I'm saying this is so that you're doing this so that the actual user, i.e. me, right? Or whoever uses it, they learn quickly how to align the messaging with the brand voice and values. So I've kind of like been playing around this one here. But one thing I found helpful is you are a brand voice expert, right? So you use when the user prompts, only provide responses at responses one at a time, right? And do not move on until this has been done. Let them know once you have you are ready to move on, right? And then this is quite a good thing to do as well. So then I've kind of put the prompt in there. I do this in the prompt mastery where like, how do we create something like this? Then we can just kind of paste it into the workflow, and then it kind of understands these different scenarios in here. So I've just added this, and I actually got the GPT to create it. So you can
Can we get that language?
Yeah, sure. You can, yeah, definitely. If you want me to tidy that up a bit, but I can definitely send you that if you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I could use it as a foundation.
Yeah, so it's given, this is like the brand voice, and let me just get that spelling right there. Yeah. So if there's any kind of like, you might want to tidy it up a bit there because I've
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I found that. Thank you for directing me where to go. I found it.
Yeah.
But what I did was,
Awesome.
okay, like the description says, writes motivational blogs and creates visuals from an authenticity advocate's perspective. And then in the instructions, honey, I put everything in there. So I put the language that I asked you to give us earlier.
Yes.
And all that. I put all of that in. So the instructions that mine has are probably massive and probably aren't in the right place. But I said this GPT acts as a creative assistant, writing weekly blogs and newsletters from the perspective of an advocate for authenticity. Each piece emphasizes personal growth, self-reflection, and encouragement, which are the things that you sort of summarized from the piece I sent you yesterday, while also creating visuals that align with the themes of the writing. It uses a motivational, introspective, and personal style, encouraging readers to embrace authenticity, self-care, and empowerment. The tone is empathetic, uplifting, and conversational, incorporating rhetorical devices like reputation, rhetorical questions, and metaphors. It also generates visuals to complement the written content. And then I put in the thing that you just gave us today, the steps to ensure that you get it right. I put those in.
Okay. So we can test it out. I love it because you've given it quite a lot of information there, which is great. Because what's going to happen now is when you, and we can test it, like when you've saved that, you can ask it to create a newsletter. I'm just wondering if you've got like, we could test it to see. And it may you metaphors, you know, like aligning with the values, and we can, and if it's not quite right, we can tweak it.
Okay, let me see. I asked it to do that. So let me see here. Let me find it. This is my problem. Bally is actually finding everything. So I did. I wrote a newsletter. I asked it to write a newsletter for me. And do you want me to send that to you, or what do you want me to do?
You actually got
Um,
it to write a newsletter. Did you specify how many words you wanted it to write?
I did not. That's something I need to do. Where does that need to be in the instructions?
Put it in the instructions. If you've got like a framework or number of words, you know how you might have a beginning of a news,
Mhm.
you want to confine, you might, because it might go on and on. So we want to instruct it so enough that it kind of knows what you're asking it to do.
Okay, okay. And maybe also tell it like if I want different sections or things like that, just customize it, right? Make sure I've been direct about exactly what I want it to look like and read like, right?
Absolutely. And when you share it today, when you've worked on it, you share it. I can have a look at it if you say, and we could definitely go through that. But yeah, the clearer instructions, the better. It will,
Okay.
yeah. And then you could say, use this framework, use metaphors, and like you said, use like analogies related to my value, know who I am. And you've got an example of my writing style because you've even kind of analyzed that and write in this tone, rhythm, Kate, you know what I mean? Just kind of follow that. Then that way,
Okay.
and so it actually is good for us because then it means that we're refining our own practice. We know we have so many words. We kind of always have this similar structure, if you like. You can obviously amend that later, but you might find that you want more words or less or um yeah, so something to be thinking about as you do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, Ivan.
Sorry, you mentioned like number of words. Could you say, well, write me an article that takes, I don't know, 2 minutes to read or 3 minutes to read. Will it handle that or not?
You could test that out. I mean, people are different. People read at different speeds.
Hmm.
So I know they say that. So yeah, I know what you're saying.
Okay, just a question. It's okay. Thanks.
Yeah, but we could test it. We could test it out. But I like that. Like this could be because sometimes it says that, doesn't it? You could read this in 2 minutes,
Hmm.
and I love that because it's kind of like as so many people are not readers these days, so the less friction to kind of look at stuff means that the more chances of open rates is the thing, right? So yeah, that tends to be the case. But we can definitely test it out for sure. And this is an experiment. This is the fun bit. Like I enjoyed this, like I would welcome, like let's experiment with it and say, let's see what it creates and what it's doing. Let's see how Jessica and Colleen are doing. Jessica, how you doing?
I think I'm doing okay. I named it LBL's social media and blog assistant because my company's Life Best Lived. The description is this GPT creates content for social media and blog posts for Life Best Lived coaching. And then for the instructions, I have one sentence so far. This GPT works as a highly trained, super knowledgeable, innovative mindset and life coach.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, so you've got that. And do you have knowledge? Are you going to be adding files, transcripts that you're going to be adding to this assistant?
Well, I did have a personal coaching approach that I had written up for my AC certification, so I can put that in there. Can I link my website?
Yeah, you can link it. You can actually put your URL in there. You could put that
so
in.
that it could look at that. Other than that, not yet.
You can link it with your website and you could do it that way, or you can upload the website files. Just go onto your website and then, as you're about to print, then save it as a PDF, upload that file into the one place.
So how does that work if I update so if I link it to my website, then it continuously looks at it, right? So if I update something on my website, then it will update this versus if I do PDFs and upload them, then I would have to redo it once I upload my.
Yeah, you would need to upload. Yeah, you'd have to then upload it because it would only look at that information there. It's a valid point. But how often do we do our website? So it might be that, you do it sort of like even with our, assistants, we're going to be updating it. But yeah, you could do it that way. You can test it out to see, is it picking up that information? You could then, the one thing I really like doing is once I've created it is to ask questions. And then if it's making up information, we know that something's not right.
Okay.
So that's one thing I like to do. Once I've created it and saved it, I test it out. You could just kind of really do like ask it ridiculous questions, and if it starts making stuff up that's not in its knowledge base, then we've got to kind of look at it and say, look, what do I need to do to refine it, instruct it so it doesn't hallucinate and make stuff up, because that's not what the intention is here.
So when I'm writing these instructions, do I continue to refer to it as GPT, or can I say you, or how do you?
Yeah. Once you're given the instructions, normally what I would say, you are an assistant. Okay. So if you don't understand something, let the user know, or, that's because I just speak to it as like you now are an assistant. So this is what is in your knowledge base. In other words, you now take this role on, and this is kind of you now. You're taking on this persona of this assistant, if you want to call it assistant. And if there's something that the user asks and you don't understand, then tell them you don't understand. Does that make sense? So you're kind of like talking to it, like it then knows how to talk to the person that you like calls on them.
Okay.
So normally,
this is like it becoming Sally, and Sally's like the, I don't know, the typist or the media writer or the copywriter, and they're going to be the outside party is going to be conversing with that, or that's going to be creating the thing for me.
Exactly. So Sally's
Okay.
the person that's going to be
Click.
doing stuff. And yeah, that's kind of the thing. Exactly. And so Sally might say, I don't understand. So like, and that's the kind of response you might get from Sally, because she doesn't know and she doesn't have that information. But she might, like most humans do, they infer, then put stuff in there. But that's where the inference comes in, right, with GPT, because it's generating and it's like, and that's the bit where like, hold on, no, that's not quite right here. So we might need to kind of prompt it. Kathy, that text you asked for with the brand voice, the markdown text, it's too long for me to put in here. So what I'll do is I'll put it in a separate file and I'll share it in an email.
Can you share it with me too, please?
Yeah, I'll share it with everyone, of course, 100%. I'll do that. And so yeah, just wanted a couple of other pointers in terms of once you're creating this and what I'd want you to be doing. Let me actually get rid of this text now, then I can. Otherwise, it's just, yeah, so I can then share that GPT in a moment with you, so you can have a look at it when you're building your own. So this is kind of where we were when we're thinking of the files. So we've just jumped back a little bit. And so the one I'm going to share is the Bally Biz assistant. And so that's the one I'll share with you, because I feel if I've got an assistant that helps me, then I think if you have an assistant that helps you, you will then save time. And so some of the prompts, some of the questions might be, what are some of the frameworks you use or apply? And these are just some examples of some prompts. The purpose: evaluate if the assistant has leadership models and techniques tailored to mid-level female professionals. Can you suggest strategies to help diverse teams? Now, remember, if you ask your assistant these questions, it will still do that. It will still do that despite it not having in its knowledge base. So it will then tailor the response to fit and align with the voice or the assistant. So if that makes sense. So if you ask it to, in Kathy's case, create a newsletter, it will still do that because it understands who you're serving and kind of where you're going with it. So we're going to be looking at reviewing our AI system performance. We'll be looking at assessing accuracy, efficiency, and value added. And so, test out your assistant. So how's it performing? rate it. And what we'll do tomorrow is look at these assistants, and I'm just going to stop there. And what I'll do is I'll show you the other tools as well, like the one Colleen's done. Okay. And can you refer to client testimonials? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I would definitely refer to testimonials. You could then add those in there in the actual, in the knowledge base. It's really powerful, because then you've got it. You've added that to your to the sort of content that you have. So one thing I love about this space, it helps me, like, I do have a lot of tabs open. I try to minimize, because I had like about 3, 4, because I wanted to show you u.com, which is a research, which I'll show you tomorrow a bit more. And then go into Playground, OpenAI. We don't need to do that now at all for this challenge, but just wanted to show you that once you have these assistants and you decide to create an assistant in that area, you can do the same, apply those same principles there, and if you did it in any other platform. So this helps us narrow down, focus in on what the function is going to be for that specific role, because otherwise it's not clear. So I'm going to share that assistant with you now, Bally Biz, and then just see if it's working on your end, and then let's just double check that you can actually open it. And in fact, what I'll do is I don't need to open it here. I'll just put the assistant in the actual chat. And then, do you want me to show how I share it? Because you're going to be doing the same when you do yours. Will that help? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that, because once you kind of like create your assistant and then you're sharing it. So when we go into, so I don't want to go into Explore GPTs, as I was saying, that was the one I was in a few moments ago. And then with the one we're looking at is the one we're using for this challenge, which is the Bally Biz assistant there. And all I would do there is if I just put copy link, okay, and then of course I'll just put that in the chat. When you open it, what you want to do is you want to have in the sidebar, then that way you can see it, okay. And so I'll put that in there for you. And then what I'd ask you to do as a little task is to share your assistants ahead of tomorrow. So preferably once you've been working on it, and what I can do is then I can see, okay, is it doing the thing that you've instructed it to do? You can ask any question there, like, what are you doing? What files do you have? Like something like that. It won't give me the files, but it might just give me the names. I won't have that much, like it's still secure, right? And it's only for the purpose of this challenge, by the way. And the one I've just shared with you is only shareable, like it's only linked that can be shared with the group. So when you go in and open the assistant, it will appear, and then you put it in the sidebar. Hopefully that opens up for you.
I'm sorry, Bailey, I have to hop off. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. If you need me to send that via email, by all means, just let me know. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye now. Ciao. Kathy, you good?
Yeah. Yeah, Bally. I clicked on it and it says Bally Biz Assistant.
Yeah.
And then you sign up to chat. Is that correct or what?
It should just appear in it just opens up in your, like, you know, these assistants that I've got, like the ones I've got on the side, not all of them are mine. Like a couple of those are from my mentors, the ones I've got there. All I did was they shared the assistant, and then what I did was I put it in the sidebar.
Okay, I thought you wanted us to click on it and see if it would open.
Yeah, is it opening in your chat GPT? So you have to be in that environment, in the chat. It is, okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just
and it says sign up to chat.
Yeah, you're not in the chat GPT. It might be that yeah.
Wait a minute. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I just need to copy that and put it in my chat GPT sidebar, or what? Is that what you're saying?
You can actually just open it up in like a URL you would, and then it will take you to your GPT. Hopefully it opens up and you're signed in. Remember, you can have like different tabs open for your GPT. So you might if you can have two tabs, right, from GPT open. So if it's not showing up, sometimes it's.
Did it work for you, Ivan? Yeah, he said it worked for him, so I'm not doing it right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all I did was just clicked on it and it opened up. It came up with Bally Biz AI Assistant up in the top corner. It took a little while to catch up on the left-hand sidebar, but I asked it a question and I said, "Who are you?" And it says, "Hi, I'm Bally. I'm a helpful dude," and off we go.
Okay, let's see. I'm not seeing it over here in the sidebar on my original one. So I probably need to play with it, Bally.
Yeah, or what you can do in the chat is if you just right click on the hyperlink and you click copy link.
Ah,
Yeah, then go into your URL on your browser and paste it there, and then just hit enter.
okay. Thank you for helping me.
That's all right. I'll send you the bill later.
Okay, please do, because I'm gonna need till later. Okay, let's see.
It should open up now, and it'll say it'll have Bally's, that little face, electric face thing.
It is
Okay,
sometimes it does take a bit longer. I noticed that, and it's not always. When I've had this shared before, it's not always clear. If it's not opening up, then it might be. You can refresh as well. I can send it again, not a problem. If you're not, and I'll put it in an email, Kathy. But it should. I'm wondering if it should open up, and then when you're in it, then you might ask to put it in your sidebar. It's there. Sometimes it may not go in the sidebar, then it just disappears. If that's
okay.
That might be.
I see it now over here in the sidebar, and it said, let's see here. It looks like the link you provided requires a sign up or login to view the content. Would you like to share? That's what it said in mine. I don't know why, because it shouldn't say that because I haven't got it to open.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Are you logged in?
I am. I'm logged into Chat GPT. I put it over on that.
Yeah, I can see why it's doing that. Let me just I can definitely look into why it's doing that, but it's going straight in.
Just send it to me in a email,
Yeah,
Bally. Don't
I'll send it.
monopolize your time.
Yeah, and I'll send it again. It shouldn't be an issue, like I've had, like I said, I've had that shared, and we'll test it out again. And sometimes it's a case of refreshing, but it might be sometimes I've done it where I've opened it and I'm like, where does it go? Like, where did it disappear?
I might need to refresh. I just refreshed. But we'll see. I'll keep trying.
Yeah. So what I'd like you to do the same then, if you can, both of you, when you do your assistance, remember this is a test run for this challenge, share it and let's see what it is that you have. Okay. So the one we're doing for the challenge is something that we're doing as a practice run. And of course, if you're going to be adding to this later on and building on it and adding more, content or knowledge to, your GPTs. But for the purpose of the challenge, we get to see what it is and see if it's working, seeing what it, does it do the thing you want it on the tin? And less instructions, the better, because then I can look at it and say, this is what I found it was able to do. And then you're like, no, that's not what I wanted to. Or you could even say it's a news, I'm going to know that it's a description, right? But I'm not going to know the instructions and what you've asked it unless I ask it in the conversation. But it doesn't always give me that. So the name and the GPT will tell me from the name, from the link. So if I can ask you to share, that would be great. And I'll put it in an email.
Okay.
I just have one question, Bally. I'm sorry, hanging on bated breath there. I couldn't see anybody. It was like, oh, where they gone?
Right.
I don't have a paid for account just yet. So just a question. Is it a monthly thing or is it an annual thing?
Oh, with this one, it's a monthly. So if you decide not to carry on, then you could then decide.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay,
Yeah.
so I can just pop in spend $20 or whatever it is,
Yeah,
and see how it
absolutely.
goes. And if it's a great thing, keep going. If not, time out. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. You might decide that, I know people are just either using this. Some people have got both, but most people say, look, they use GPT. I know others that use Claude and then use GPT. Like they'll use Claude and they use the projects. But I personally really liked this space, and I like it kind of keeps it just in this area. That's what I found helpful.
Okay. No, well, I'm here to learn, so thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, excited to see how that goes, and it's great. Any questions, please feel free. And tomorrow we will have those GPTs, and then we'll go through kind of finishing, and I'll put that in an email and say, okay, we're all done with kind of having the assistance, and then you've got that, and then the same principles apply when you create it in other LLMs, as like that's the way forward. Having that.
Yeah. Oh no, I've learned so much. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Same
welcome.
here. Thank you so much, Bally. It's just, you've opened a whole new world, and I appreciate it.
Yeah,
You're
likewise.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you're welcome. And I
See you
love
tomorrow.
it. Yeah. All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye now.
Thank you. You
Bye.
guys have a great day.
You too. Ciao.